Hi Guy, I'm Laurie from AI Elephant.
Hi guys, I'm Leo.
Recently, a figure almost deified in the tech world, NVIDIA founder, Jensen Huang, gave a speech at the Cambridge Union. He received the Stephen Hawking Fellowship Award. But did you know? The core of his speech about company success and the AI revolution wasn't about technology, but about pain and sacrifice.
Pain? Sacrifice. I thought a CEO's job was to sit in a luxurious office, give grand directions, and take the applause. Why pain? And surely isn't NVIDIA's success built on GPUs and AI algorithms? What does that have to do with suffering?
That is the main thread we're exploring today. Jensen Huang redefined leadership. A great CEO is someone in service of the company. They must possess intellectual honesty and the courage to cross the valley of death and innovation. The mindset and philosophy behind this are far more worth dissecting than any chip. NVIDIA story began in 1993 in a townhome with an idea that was nearly impossible to achieve, inventing a new form of computing, which we now call the GPU. They didn't just create a product. They pioneered a new form of computing called CUDA-accelerated computing.
CUDA. Every AI scientist relies on it now. But from Huang's perspective, what did the GPU success signify? Just good product sales.
No, he said. It allowed them to ignite the industrial revolution. Because the GPU gave humanity the ability to manufacture intelligence. But even more disruptive is his definition of the CEO role. Most people think of the CEO as being at the top. But Jensen Huang said, the CEO is in service of the company. His core job isn't giving orders, but creating conditions for others to do their life's work. In this process, leadership is mostly about sacrifice, about the pain and suffering that comes with overcoming obstacles.
Wow, that sounds more like a monk than the captain of a multi-billion-dollar company. This completely overturns the traditional image of a successful CEO. We always think they're enjoying the fruits of victory. Turns out, they're the ones carrying the heaviest load through the mud. Where does this mindset of enduring pain and service come from? Was it taught in business school? Or is he naturally like this?
He confessed he had never been a CEO and never even wrote a business plan. This core attitude came from his childhood experience of his mother teaching him English, even though she didn't speak English herself at the time. This experience gave him a core attitude. How hard can it be? This childlike curiosity and optimism pushed him to break everything down into first principles. Through this reasoning, once he could clearly see the future in his head, he believed that future might as well be real.
So conviction isn't blind optimism, but deep reasoning based on fundamental logic. Once the logic holds, the future is equivalent to reality. That explains why he is hard to shake. He believes in the foundations of science and physics, not just trends.
NVIDIA's success was far from smooth. Their key lay in continuous self-reinvention. And during the reinvention process, they had to cross a huge barrier, which Huang calls the chasm.
What is the chasm? Is it a technological barrier set by competitors?
No, it is the paradox of new product categories. When you invent an entirely new product category, like the early GPU, its cost of the technology is often far higher than the value it can provide in the initial phase. He gave an example. When they launched the programmable shader, there were no applications, but the cost was twice as much. Customers at the time would naturally choose products that cost half as much and had sufficient functionality, rather than something with future prospects. To cross this chasm, you need to build an ecosystem and incentivize developers. This is an extremely painful, life-threatening process. Most companies die in the middle of this canyon.
So, at that stage, your costs are incredibly high, and your value to existing customers is almost non-existent. What is the 100% motivation that sustains you across?
Huang said the force that sustained them was 100% is courage, which is the ability to endure pain and suffering. He pointed out that no old company successfully transitioned from feature phones to smartphones. NVIDIA is the only company that has successfully gone through 6 computing eras and continually reinvented itself. To achieve this continuous reinvention, a leader must possess a core quality: intellectual honesty. This means you must allow yourself to be vulnerable and allow yourself to be wrong.
That sounds difficult. If I were a CEO and I had announced a strategic direction to 50,000 people only to find it was wrong, for me to pivot would mean losing face. Wouldn't teed it. That concerns the ego, right?
Exactly, he said. The biggest obstacle is the ego. But he believes the leader's job is not meant to be right, but to help other people succeed. As long as employees believe he always has the company's best interest at heart, he has earned the right to change my mind.
Therefore, intellectual honesty means performing a daily gut check on all assumptions. When an error is found, you must be quick to adapt. Stubbornness will only lead to your demise in the chasm. In Hawking's words, true intellect is the ability to adapt. When discussing the future impact of AI, Jensen Huang put forward an exciting vision, turning biology into engineering. He believes AI will become intelligence infrastructure, much like energy and the internet. It is capable for the first time of understanding the meaning of the information that it is processing.
Understanding the meaning of information. That is quite abstract. Can you give a concrete example? For instance, how do we turn biology from science into engineering?
Imagine computer, aided drug design. He contrasted chip design with drug discovery. 40 years ago, engineers started designing integrated circuits IC inside computers. Now chip design is 100% engineering, and the results are predictable.
But what about drug discovery? It currently resembles searching for truffles or mushrooms, full of randomness. It is more science than engineering. The goal of AI is to discover the hierarchy of information representation, just like CAD computer, aided design, allowing us in the future to talk directly to proteins, asking about their solubility, and how they bind to specific chemicals at different temperatures.
That is incredible. So we are no longer blindly screening compounds, but we can design a drug. Just like designing a skyscraper, AI is the super intelligent bioengineer. This truly is a disruption on an infrastructure level. So, after AI becomes this intelligence infrastructure, what is the next big era?
The next era is embodied AI. This is AI that needs to understand the laws of physics, causality, object permanence, and friction. That is AI that can operate and act in the real world. This will completely reshape how our industries work. NVIDIA positions itself in this global ecosystem as a platform company and a tools company. Their logic for success is unique. The only reason we succeed is when the companies and developers using our platform create something incredible.
I understand. Their mission is desire other people to succeed. NVIDIA is riding the coattails of their users. This explains why they invest in the UK and South Korea. They need a global AI ecosystem to validate and amplify the platform's value. The final question everyone cares about. What does AI mean for our jobs? A wave of unemployment. What advice does Jensen Huang give to young people and entrepreneurs?
One of his most famous points is, every job will change. You will not lose your job to AI. You will lose your job to someone who uses AI.
He used the example of radiologists. Despite mature AI technology, the number of radiologists hired actually increased. Because AI handled the foundational work, humans were freed up to handle more complex, poorly defined work that is, creative work. His advice for entrepreneurs and all young people is to possess a childlike view of the future. Maintain optimism, curiosity, and don't be afraid of ignorance and naivety.
That is truly the warmest advice. Don't be intimidated by current difficulties. Stay curious and keep asking yourself, how hard can it be? Because in the process, you will learn everything you need to know.
Today we explored Jensen Huang's philosophy, which boils down to 3 key points. 1. Accept pain as leadership. The true CEO is a servant who must lead the company through continuous reinvention by practicing intellectual honesty and enduring the pain of the innovation chasm. 2. Conviction from first principles. Face the future not with intuition, but with underlying scientific logic to reason. Once you see the future in your mind, treat it as real. 3. Embrace tools and collaboration. No one will lose to AI itself. but to competitors who can maximize the use of AI as intelligence infrastructure.
Indeed, whether it is technological innovation or personal growth, it all requires this childlike courage and the resilience to endure pain. The era we live in is being completely transformed by AI. And the force sustaining this revolution is not just the chips, but Huang's conviction of daring to sacrifice self and serving the success of others. Thank you for listening to this episode.